Recorded Books and One Click Digital present The Ville Rat by Martin LimOn. Narrated by Timothy Andres Pabon. Chapter 1. We left the main supply route and turned onto the two-lane blacktop that led toward the village of Sonyu River. The road dropped off precipitously, and we both held on to the overhead roll bar as the Jeep bounced downhill. When we reached ground level, the tire chains caught and began to crunch reassuringly on freshly fallen snow. Still, even though the time was already an hour past dawn, visibility was poor. Ernie switched on the headlights. "Are you sure you're using the right map there, pal?" "Official Army map," I told him, slapping the folded sheet. "What's the date on it?" I aimed the beam of my flashlight and checked. 20 years ago. "Right at the end of the Korean War," Ernie said. "This area north of Seoul has changed since then. Half the roads probably aren't even listed. And half the villages, I thought. With 2 million dead out of a population of 20 million at the end of the war, the Republic of Korea was only now beginning to recover, and they were still nervous about another North Korean invasion. With 700,000 bloodthirsty communist soldiers on the far side of the demilitarized zone just a few miles from here, who could blame them? On the trip from Seoul, we'd passed 2 ROK Army checkpoints and driven around a mile-long row of armor-blocking cement pilings and rolled beneath tank traps set to explode if the northern hordes ever decided to come south again. My name is George SueNo. My partner Ernie Bascom and I are agents for the 8th United States Army Criminal Investigation Division in Seoul. The call had come in at dark 30. Our presence was requested at a crime scene some 15 miles north of the capital city in a village known as Sonyu River. Said presence was requested now, or as 8th Army liked to say, immediately if not sooner. We continued to roll down the snow-covered road, passing the Pabon County Health Clinic on our right and then a few idle 3-wheeled tractors parked along the edge of a 4-foot-high berm. Rows of small farmhouses sat cozy in the brisk winter breeze. 50 yards farther along, just where the map told me they would be, a cluster of blue police sedans waited atop a rise. As we bounced up the dirt pathway, all eyes were on us, even Mr. Kill's. His real name was Gil Kwon-up, Chief Homicide Inspector for the Korean National Police, but Kill is what the American Army MPs had taken to calling him. Changing Gil to Kill made some sort of sense, at least in GI minds. Whenever they could turn a Korean name or word into something American, they did it. Ernie and I had worked with Mr. Kill before on more than one case, and somehow we had won his grudging respect. Ernie for his ability to blend in with GIs everywhere under any conditions, and me for my facility with the Korean language and interest in Korea's 5,000-year-old culture. Ernie drove up closer to the other vehicles, turned off the engine, and set the emergency brake. We pushed open the stiff canvas doors, climbed out of the Jeep, and trudged to the top of the rise. Mr. Kill wore a broad-brimmed fedora and a dapper overcoat made of thick material. He stood with his hands shoved deep into his pockets, staring at us. He was tall for a Korean, but at 6'1", Ernie loomed over him. I was 3 inches taller than Ernie, but to show respect for Mr. Kill's rank, I stopped lower down on the ridge. We were eye to eye. I nodded a greeting, so did Ernie. Kill pulled his right hand out of his pocket and motioned for us to follow. We did, downhill to the ice-encrusted banks of the Sonyu River. In the stray beams of a half-dozen flashlights, it was the splash of color I saw first. Bright red. Ernie saw it too. We both stopped. Mr. Kill took 2 steps forward and then crouched, both to get himself a better view and to give us time to absorb the scene. The rays of illumination coalesced around her, like a spotlight introducing a star. It was then I saw the stiff flesh and the raven black hair. She was beautiful, like an ice princess. Somehow her body had been washed up against the shore, and any further drift had been stopped by a foot-high shelf of crystalline white snow. She was wearing a chimichuggery, a traditional Korean dress made of flowing red silk. The skirt had been tied breast-high, as was the custom, and embroidered with white cranes flapping broad wings to the sky. The short blouse was made of a sturdier material and was canary yellow and tied in the front with a long blue ribbon. Her eyes were open,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?